Hello everybody, it's Sarah, and today I just wanted to do a very quick and short video because I really should be studying because I have exams next week. And so I thought I'd do what I always love to do when I have something else to be anxious about, and that is rant about something that's really not important and concentrate on that. So today's video is my bookish pet peeves. I already did this type of video at the very beginning of my channel, however I could not go through the cringe of rewatching that, so I'm sorry if there are any doubles. However, I think we're good anyway because back then I still had like 10 subscribers, so like I don't think anyone who's watching my channel now, or most people who are watching my channel now, have seen that first video, so I think we're good. I mostly have pet peeves that are related to the physical copies of the books, but then I also have some that are related to the interior of the books, I guess you could say. But let's start with something very obvious, and that is cover changes in the middle of a series while a series is still being published. You know, I don't mind having different covers to a series usually. Like, a lot of series on my shelves have different covers. Hell, like the Witcher series, I have it in all 3 possible covers. Like, I have all 3 of the covers within the series. However, I still had the choice, if I wanted to buy the entire series in one cover. I do not like if I don't have the choice. And that happened recently with Bring Me Their Hearts, with the trilogy with the last book by Sarah Wolf. The last book, which is Send Me Their Souls, has a different cover. And now I'm not particularly a fan of these covers either. They're quite like typical YA covers, but I really don't like this cover and I think it's really ugly, so tragedy. Absolute tragedy. So yeah, I also don't understand why publishers would do that, because like I don't think there's a single reader out there who's like, yeah, go ahead, change the covers mid-series while you're still publishing and not publish like the latest book in the first covers, because, you know, I mean, I get it theoretically, because maybe because this is so typical, there really weren't great sales with this cover, so they decided to change it up for the last one, but I still don't have to like it, and I still don't. It's like, it's just simple as that. The second pet peeve is also a pretty obvious one that I think everyone has, but I want to rant about it, so it's in this video. And I have talked about it before on my channel that especially with paperbacks, or like only with paperbacks, I do not mind my books looking red. I actually prefer that. I prefer my books being all dinged up, my books having broken spines. However, I want to be the one to put that there. I mean, I wouldn't mind with used copies, but if I buy a new book, I want it to arrive pristine and not like ripped at the sides. Like, how hard can it be to package a book? Once you have it packaged, it's basically impossible to destroy a book anyway. And I wouldn't even mind a bit of like dinged up edges and corners, but like this is a bit extreme, isn't it? How hard can it be? I mean, I guess it's probably very hard, especially if you're ordering from Amazon, because the workers are really stressed there, and of course they have to have their quotas and everything, but it still annoys me. I can be sympathetic towards the workers and being angry at Amazon, not at the workers. You know what I mean? Next, I want to talk about spines on books. First, specifically about German spines. Now, let's look at this book again, which I just showed you, The Winter Duke by Claire Eliza Bartlett. This is not a German book, it's an English copy. But I am someone who has a lot of books, and as someone who has a lot of books, a lot of people will know I sometimes have to play Tetris with my copies. And so like you can see it up here a little bit, you can see it down there with my Song of Ice and Fire copies. Sometimes you end up stacking the books. Now, when you stack a book, or when I stack a book, my intuitive reaction is to put the cover on top, to like have it like this. And with English books, beautifully, you have the spine. I mean, if the title is written like this, of course, sometimes you have books where the title is written like this, but if the title is written like this, very beautifully, you have it the right way up. It's not like that with German copies. If I put the cover on top in German copies, suddenly, I don't know if you can see it because it's a little bit glary, but suddenly the title is upside down. Why would you design books like that? Why would you do that? So basically, I always have to put my covers like this, and this is why I try not to stack my German books, or if I do, I will stack them on the very uppermost shelves so I don't see like the back of the book, or I will put an English book on top like this, because I mean, why is it like this? But it also is kind of annoying a little bit on the shelves because you constantly have like the titles looking different ways on your shelves. Especially in some series I have books in English and in German, and it just ends up not looking the prettiest on my shelf. Next, I have a pet peeve concerning the spine of a very specific book, and that is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, where the publishers just completely fucked up the book design. But before I show you what exactly is so annoying in the spine of this book, which made reading almost impossible, let me show you on the example of this book how spines in hardcovers should go. And that is, if you open it, you can see here there's this hole. And that is because the binding of the pages is not connected to the spine of the hardcover. Because of course, otherwise you would crack the hardcover, which in a hardcover is a lot more damaging than in a paperback. In a paperback you crack the spine and it's like all fine and dandy, but in a hardcover it can be quite damaging. And I'm actually kind of, oops, I actually kind of ripped this book just now. Oh well, things happen. Yeah, so I just kind of gave this book the rest, but it was already taped together anyway, so I don't mind with this one. But anyway, so this is how spine should look. But this is not how the spine of Mexican Gothic looks. With Mexican Gothic, you can basically open the book this far before you start cracking the actual spine of the hardcover, because the pages are bound directly to the hardcover. And like, why would you do that? I'm gonna try to show you on the other side, because I think you can see it a bit better, that it starts cracking here. And yeah, that's just really annoying, and it really ruins your reading experience because you can't open the fucking book. Like, why would you do that? I think we have made books for long enough now that we should know not to do this. And I don't have a single hardcover, no matter how thin it is, that like connected the pages directly to the spine. Why would you do that? I actually just remembered I have a third pet peeves when it comes to spines, and that is when there's a tiny difference in the design of the spine for some reason, just like out of nowhere. And as an example here, I have the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. And I don't know if you can tell, but on this book you have like this black stripe in which you can find the publisher's logo. And here you don't have that. And this is the only book in the entire series that doesn't have this. And I have noticed that quite often in series where, for example, in the design, usually you have title, author, and then there's one book where it's author, title, or where the design of the publisher, instead of at the bottom, is suddenly at the top. And I don't understand, how hard can it be to have the books uniform? And I don't know, you might notice in these pet peeves, I have less of a problem with like big differences in books and in designs than I have with small differences. Like, the small differences are what really, really gets me and really, really annoys me. Because it's that one thing you usually don't notice, and then suddenly you notice it one day and you can't stop thinking about it. And you're just like, I hate this. Why is it like this? I simply hate this. And yeah, so please, publishers, look closely at the design of your books up until that point, and then don't change it. The last two pet peeves have to do with sizes of books, and first let me tell you what's not a pet peeve of mine. And that is having two distinct uniform sizes in your books. Brandon Sanderson has that a lot with his UK editions of his books, where when the book first comes out, you get like this bigger sized books, and then after 6 months to a year, you get the more, I wouldn't say it's like a mass market paperback size, because it doesn't feel like a mass market paperback, but you get like the smaller book. And I don't mind that, because you have 2 uniform sizes, but then please stay with those 2. Because, just as an example, I have my original Mortal Instruments trilogy in 3 different sizes for some reason. Like, I don't even get why. I know that now they always start as well with the bigger paperbacks, and then they come out with, I think, this size, if it's not even smaller than this one now. But I don't know why I have City of Bones in this random in-between size. It just does not make any sense. Just stay with 1 or 2 sizes. How hard can it be? And then also, how hard can it be to have your same size, one size, be uniform? This is actually what kind of inspired this video, because I finished The Camelot Betrayal yesterday. And so when I put it on my shelf next to the Guinevere Deception, I don't know if you can see it, probably not, because I can't really put it on a flat surface. But The Camelot Betrayal is like 2 millimeters shorter than the Guinevere Deception. And that's really, really annoying. It's like 2 fucking millimeters. Don't you have uniform sizes? And also another series that does that as well, where it's a bit more noticeable, is the Poppy War series and the first 2 books. And I don't know, you can see it, I have them on the same height down here. And up there, there's quite a big difference in size, but not big enough to be like actual 2 different sizes. And also, both of them are by the same publisher, so it cannot be that you just have 2 different publishing houses that just have the same cover anyway. So yeah, that's the last of the outside physical aesthetic pet peeves that I have. Next, let's look at the non-physical pet peeves, and for that I first want to go with one that also can be found on the outside of the book, and that is not having a summary on the back of a book. And I know that especially with fantasy, summaries can be non-telling a lot of the times. However, one of the ways I do enjoy finding new books is just going to the bookstore, looking at the cover, looking if the title interests me, and then looking at the back and just seeing if it sounds interesting. And I mind it less in hardcovers, because with hardcovers you can just easily open the cover and usually you have a summary right here. However, with paperbacks, if there is a summary at all, you often have to like look for the page where you can find the summary. And for example, in this book, you don't have any. And I don't like that. Even if it's just a quote, just put something on there that maybe catches my eye and that maybe makes me think, hey, I want to read this. Because, gotta be honest, praise and blurbs at the back don't make me read a book. Ever. Not even if it's by my favorite authors. Next, something that's also kind of physical, kind of like about the interior of the book, and that is introductions or explanations in classics being at the front. And like these Penguin classics do that a lot, and I do like explanations being in classics because that's something that I enjoy most about reading classics. However, a lot of times these introductions actually have spoilers for the book, because of course they explain what certain scenes are about and so on. And I get that you kind of have this thing about classics where they're classics, you should know what they're about. We often already know the general story and so on. But I don't know, I still don't like reading them and then like already being spoiled for things that I might not know that much about, and I'd much rather read the introduction or the explanation at the end than at the beginning. And I could just like not read it, read the book, and then read it at the end, but just put it in at the end. For example, Dr. Faustus, this copy of Dr. Faustus by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, this did this where you have like the end of the book at page, I think, 350, and then the last 50 pages of the book are the explanation of how this work of theater came to be. Something that's stylistically a bit of a pet peeve of mine is something that I have talked about before, and that is two different POVs but both from the first person. Because even if I don't mind it, I don't think I've ever read an instance where I thought it was well done and where both POVs were very distinct from each other. Usually you have to write the name of which character you're reading from at the very top, and if you go over which character you're reading from, you're gonna be confused at the very beginning, and it's just like, don't do it. I know first person POV is something that especially YA writers absolutely love, but just either decide for just one POV or decide for two POVs but just have one of them in first person or both of them in third person. Like, it can't be that hard, to be honest. The last thing I have is standalones with open endings, especially in fantasy. Now, I don't mind open endings. I actually pretty much enjoy open endings. However, these specific open endings I'm talking about are the open endings that are kept open, especially often by debut authors, because there were hopes that maybe there would be like more of a, like, you know, future series deal in there somewhere, and to keep it open to be continued. And I mind less than some others if there's like a series that's finished and then the author decides to continue on with that series. I don't mind that much because I can still continue on if I want to or not, and the first series usually was pretty much finished with maybe one or two open strands that possibly could lead on or not. So I don't mind it that much with series, but with standalones for some reason it really bothers me. And I don't know, you could just, instead of having an open ending standalone, you could have that story completely finished, but maybe you will get a series deal and you could keep yourself open, like in the world building and everything else, to continue on with the series in the same world but following different characters. And so yeah, I just don't like open ending fantasy standalones. And with that said, that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. Tell me in the comments down below your biggest bookish pet peeves. All the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. All the links to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where we read one adult high fantasy book written by a woman per month, will also be linked down below. And with that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!